Chisom Eze always believed her destiny was written in subtitles, Korean ones. While her neighbors in Suka spent their evenings laughing over Nollywood movies or arguing about politics, Chisom sat by her window, her old phone propped on a cracked plastic stool, the glow of a K-drama washing her face in soft blue light. She mouthed every word she heard, her tongue wrestling with unfamiliar syllables, Annyeonghaseyo, Gamsahamnida. Her little brother, Somto, would often peek into her room, giggle, and run to their mother. Mama Neka. See Chisom again, oh. She's talking to her phone in Korean. Their mother would laugh, shaking her head as she turned the puff-puff frying in hot oil. Leave her, Somto. One day, all this her foreign grammar go pay off. But even she didn't truly believe it. To most people, Chisom's dreams sounded impossible. A Nigerian girl from a small university town wanting to study in South Korea. She had never even been on a plane, didn't have a passport, and the only Korean she'd ever spoken was through her phone screen. Still, Chisom had a fire in her heart that couldn't be quenched by doubt. She studied hard, waking up before dawn to read by candlelight when power went out, which it did often. After school, she helped her mother sell puff-puff by the roadside, calling out to passers-by with her bright, hopeful smile. Every coin she earned went into a small blue tin box she hid beneath her bed, her Busan fund, named after the city she had fallen in love with through her favorite drama, Reply 1988. Her friends teased her endlessly. Chisom, Korea is not a Nugu Oo. You think those people will understand your pidgin? My dear, even if they don't, they'll understand my dreams, she would reply with a grin. And when they laughed, she laughed too, because she knew something they didn't. She wasn't dreaming for fun. She was dreaming to escape. Backhand index pointing right. If you've ever had a dream people called unrealistic, hit the like button right now. Because Chisom's story, this one right here, will remind you why giving up is never an option. Every night, after her siblings had fallen asleep, Chisom would pull out her old notebook filled with Korean vocabulary. The pages were creased, smudged, and patched with tape, but to her, they were treasure maps. If I can just get there, she whispered to herself, I'll make it work. And then came the applications. Over and over again. Scholarship essays typed and retyped at a crowded cybercafe. Bank statements she didn't have. Recommendation letters she begged for. Every send felt like a piece of her heart flying into the unknown. Weeks turned into months, and with them came the inevitable rejection emails. We regret to inform you, unfortunately, due to limited space. Each one felt like a small death. There were nights she sat outside, her knees drawn to her chest, fighting tears as her mother's soft voice drifted from inside. Maybe apply to UNN, my daughter. You're smart. You don't need to go that far. But Chisom only shook her head. Mama, I'm not meant to stay here. I feel it. And she did. Somewhere deep inside, beyond the poverty, beyond the rejection, beyond the noise of the market and the smell of frying oil, she felt a quiet, steady voice whispering, Keep going. Then, one evening in July, as the rain poured over the tin roof, Chisom's old phone buzzed. The internet in their neighborhood was always slow, but that night, it felt like the world itself had paused for her. She clicked the notification, her heart drumming so fast she could hear it. Subject, Congratulations, Miss Chisom Eze. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then she screamed. Mama! Mama, come! Come now! Her mother rushed in, panic in her eyes. Chisom, what is it? Chisom shoved the phone into her hand, tears streaming down her face. Day 1 International University. They accepted me, Mama. I'm going to Korea. For a long moment, Mama Neka just stood there, eyes wide, lips trembling. Then, slowly, she began to laugh, a laugh so full of disbelief and joy that it filled their little house. Chinik. My daughter is going abroad. The neighbors gathered as the news spread. Some cheered, some whispered, others shook their heads. Nah, so this girl really do from Suka to Korea. That night, under the dim light of a kerosene lamp, Chisom stared at the acceptance email until her eyes blurred with tears. She whispered to herself, It's real. It's finally real. The following days were a whirlwind of preparation. Visa appointments, medical checks, farewells. Her local church contributed a small donation. Her old teacher printed her documents for free. People she barely knew encouraged her, proud that one of their own had reached so far. Her mother sewed a new Ankara dress for her to wear on the journey, bright yellow, patterned with stars. "For luck," she said, pressing the folded fabric into Chisom's hands. On the day of her departure, the entire neighborhood came out to wave. As the old taxi rumbled toward the airport, Chisom looked out the window, her eyes wet with both fear and hope. "Mama," she said softly, "I'll make you proud." "You already have," her mother replied. When the plane took off, Chisom's heart felt like it might burst. Nigeria shrank beneath her, the red earth, the green fields, the streets she knew by heart. For the first time in her life, she was airborne, above everything she had ever known, flying toward everything she had ever dreamed of. She imagined her arrival, Busan skyline glimmering under the evening sky, students walking briskly in uniforms, the salty breeze from the sea brushing her face. She imagined snow falling, her breath fogging in the cold. She imagined belonging. What she didn't imagine was how hard it would be to survive once she got there. But for now, she leaned back, smiling as the clouds drifted by. "This is it," she whispered. "My story begins now." When the plane landed in Busan, Chisom's heart thudded with excitement so loud she could barely breathe. The cabin doors opened, and the cool Korean air brushed her face like a whisper, clean, sharp, and unfamiliar. For a second, she closed her eyes and smiled. She made it. The terminal was huge, shining floors, voices echoing in a language she had only ever heard through a screen. She clutched her small black backpack tightly, eyes darting around at people walking briskly, phones glued to their ears, signs flashing in Hangul she could barely read. "Wow," she whispered, "it's like I'm inside a drama." But the magic began to fade the moment she realized no one was waiting for her. No welcome sign, no smiling face, no orientation guide. Just strangers passing by, not even glancing her way. The airport felt colder by the minute. She found her way to the bus terminal, dragging her old suitcase that squeaked every few steps. The ticket machine instructions were entirely in Korean. She tried to use Google Translate, but her internet data wouldn't connect. She stood there, lost, confused, and suddenly very small. An older woman passing by noticed her struggling and said something in rapid Korean. Chisom panicked, bowing quickly, blurting out, "My auntie." I don't understand, Busan University." The woman blinked, frowned, and simply walked away. Chisom bit her lip, fighting the sting in her eyes. So this is it, the fairy tale beginning. Finally, a young student in a black hoodie approached her and asked in broken English, "You need help?" Chisom nearly cried from relief. "Yes, please. I'm going to Day 1 International University." He smiled, helped her get her bus ticket, and pointed to the right stop. Before leaving, he waved and said, "Welcome to Korea. Be strong." Those 3 words, "be strong," would echo in her mind over the next few months. By the time she arrived at the university dorms, night had fallen. The buildings stood tall and modern, lights glowing in every window. She dragged her suitcase up to the reception, where a cheerful attendant handed her a room key and a stack of papers, all written in Korean. "Thank you," she said softly, forcing a smile. When she entered her dorm room, she found it small but clean, a narrow bed, a desk, a closet, and a window overlooking the city lights. It wasn't much, but to Chisom, it felt like magic. She knelt down, whispered a quick prayer, and unpacked her mother's yellow Ankara dress. "Mama," she murmured, "I did it. I'm really here." She took a selfie by the window, posted it online with the caption, *New Beginnings. Nsuka girl in Busan. *. Comments flooded in from friends and neighbors. "We're proud of you, Chisom. No forget us Omo, see our Korean babe." Her smile widened, but behind it, a quiet fear began to grow. The next day, reality arrived with the alarm clock. The classroom was filled with chatter, fast, loud Korean that made her head spin. Her classmates barely looked at her, except for quick, curious glances. The professor spoke rapidly, pointing at slides filled with Hangul. Chisom tried to take notes, but by the second page, she realized she couldn't keep up. When the professor asked a question, everyone raised their hands, except her. She just sat there, pretending to write. By lunchtime,
Yeah, she
she
never
felt
talks to anyone.
invisible.
She just sits
In the
there.
cafeteria, she stood in line, unsure of what to order. The menu had no pictures. When it was her turn, she stammered. Kimbap. The cashier said something she didn't understand. The people behind her sighed impatiently. Finally, a girl from her class stepped forward. She said, "No kimbap today. Maybe ramen." Chisom smiled weakly. "Thank you. I'm Minji," the girl said, smiling. "You're from Africa?" "Yes. Nigeria." Minji nodded politely but didn't ask more. After paying, she walked off to sit with her friends. Chisom stood there with her tray, scanning the cafeteria, table after table filled with chatter and laughter. No space for her. She ended up eating alone by the window, stirring her noodles long after they'd gone cold. Days turned into weeks. Classes were harder. The language barrier was worse than she'd imagined. Her small scholarship barely covered her bills. Sometimes, she skipped dinner to save money. Other times, she cried quietly at night, scrolling through old photos from home. Her mother's messages always said the same thing. "Remember, my daughter, nothing good comes easy. God is with you." Still, she began to wonder, was she really built for this? One evening, after a particularly rough day, she walked down to the harbor near campus. The sea breeze was cold, the city lights reflecting on the water. She sat on a bench, hugging her knees. "Why does it hurt to live your dream?" she whispered. That's when she heard a voice. "Because dreams are heavy," someone said. She turned to see a young man with short black hair, wearing a gray hoodie and sketching in a notebook. His Korean accent was soft when he switched to English. "I'm June, architecture student." "Chisom," she said quietly. "International student. And currently losing my mind." He chuckled. "Welcome to Korea." They talked for hours. He told her about his struggles, how he'd failed his first year and almost gave up. She told him about Nsukka, about Puff Puff, about her mother. By the end of the night, she was laughing again, genuinely. Before they parted, June said, "You'll be fine. You just need to find your rhythm. It's okay to feel lost." As she walked back to the dorm, his words stayed with her. The next morning, she woke up early, opened her notebook, and began writing again. Not in Korean, not in English, but in her own language. "I am Chisom. I came from a place where dreams grow in dust and rain. And I will not give up." She pinned that page to her wall. That day, when Minji passed by her seat in class, Chisom smiled first. Slowly, she began to make small connections, greeting people, joining group projects, learning simple phrases. "Annyeong, Jal Jini, Kamsahamnida." Each small victory felt like climbing a mountain barefoot, painful but beautiful. By the end of her first semester, Chisom wasn't fluent yet. She still struggled, still missed home, still saved every penny. But she was standing taller, stronger. And sometimes, when she walked through campus and saw the reflection of herself in the glass, the Nigerian girl who once watched K-dramas from a cracked phone, she couldn't help but smile. Because she wasn't watching anymore. She was living it. Spring arrived in Busan like a gentle sigh, cherry blossoms drifting through the air, painting the streets pink and white. For the first time since arriving, Chisom felt the city smiling at her. She'd learned enough Korean to hold small conversations, joined a study group, and even started helping other international students settle in. Her confidence was growing, and so was her friendship with June. They met almost every evening at the harbor bench, the same spot where she'd cried months earlier. He'd sketch while she talked about home. Sometimes, she'd bring Puff Puff she made from a Nigerian recipe she'd found online. "Sweet," he'd say, munching one. "What did you call it again?" "Puff Puff," she'd reply, laughing. "The best snack in Africa." June smiled at her often, the kind of smile that lingers longer than it should. But Chisom didn't notice at first. Or maybe she didn't want to. One night, as the moon hung over the water, he asked softly, "Do you ever want to go back home?" She hesitated. "Every day. But I also want to make something of myself here. So that when I go back, people will see what's possible." He looked at her then, really looked, the determination in her eyes, the hope she carried even in her struggles. "You're different, Chisom," he said. "Most people I know just want to escape. You want to transform." Something in his tone made her heart skip. She smiled, but her chest felt tight. Their friendship deepened. They studied together, shared meals, laughed at their mistakes. Sometimes, when she'd get homesick, June would play Nigerian songs he found on YouTube and dance horribly just to make her smile. "You dance like a robot," she'd tease. "You sing like one," he'd reply, laughing. Life, for a while, felt beautiful. Until the rumors began. At Day One University, diversity was celebrated, but not always understood. A few classmates whispered behind her back. Some snickered when she spoke Korean with an accent. And when June started spending more time with her, the whispers grew louder. Why is June always with her? He could be with any girl, but he chooses her. Chisom noticed the stares, the subtle exclusions, group projects without her, invitations she never received. At first, she brushed it off. But soon, it began to sting. Then one afternoon, she overheard something she wasn't meant to. "He's just being nice. You know June. He feels sorry for her." Her chest tightened. She wanted to walk away, but her legs froze. That night, when June texted, "See you at the harbor," she didn't reply. For 3 days, she avoided him. She buried herself in classwork, tried to ignore the ache in her chest. But on the 4th evening, there was a knock on her dorm door. It was June. "You're avoiding me," he said quietly. "I've been busy," she replied, eyes on the floor. "Chisom," he said gently, "what's going on?" The emotion she'd been holding in cracked open. "Do you know what they say about us? That you're only spending time with me because you feel sorry for me." June's expression hardened. "Do you believe that?" She didn't answer. He stepped closer. "Chisom, I'm with you because I want to be. Because you make me feel alive. Because when you talk about your dreams, I remember mine." Her breath caught. Their eyes met, and for a heartbeat, the world felt still. "June," she whispered. He smiled sadly. "I like you, Chisom. Not as a charity. Not as a friend. As you." Tears welled up in her eyes. She wanted to speak, but her throat was tight. And then, gently, he reached for her hand. That night, under the soft hum of Busan city lights, something new began, fragile, warm, and terrifying. For weeks, they kept their relationship quiet. They studied together, walked by the harbor, shared coffee in small shops away from campus. June drew her often, sometimes in her yellow Ankara dress, sometimes laughing, sometimes deep in thought. "You make everything feel like art," he once said. And for the first time in years, Chisom felt like she belonged. But happiness, she would soon learn, has a time limit. The trouble started when a photo of them together leaked onto a student forum. Someone had taken a picture of them holding hands near the library. The comments were brutal. "Why is he dating her? She's just using him for status." Typical foreigner move. By the next morning, whispers turned into open stares. Minji, her old classmate, warned her gently. "Some people are upset. You might want to be careful." Chisom tried to shrug it off, but inside, she was breaking. June stood by her, but the pressure grew. Professors began treating her differently, classmates excluded her again, and suddenly, she was that lonely girl from Suka all over. One night, she broke down completely. "Maybe we shouldn't see each other anymore," she said through tears. June looked at her like she'd stabbed him. "Don't say that. It's too hard. I came here to study, not fight the whole world." "Then let me fight it with you." But she shook her head. "I can't let you lose everything because of me." He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "I'm sorry, June." And just like that, the harbor bench, the laughter, the warmth, it all vanished into the cold Busan night. 4 days, she moved like a ghost. She went to class, studied, worked part-time at a small cafe, but the spark was gone. The city that once glowed with promise now felt gray. Then one morning, she opened her mailbox and found a small envelope. Inside was a sketch, her, sitting by the harbor, wind in her hair, eyes full of light. At the bottom, a note in June's handwriting. "Even if the world doesn't see you, I do. Always." Tears streamed down her face. She pressed the drawing to her chest and whispered, "Thank you." That night, she recorded a short vlog on her phone, raw and unfiltered. "When I came to Korea, I thought I was chasing a dream. But I realize now, I was becoming one. Even when people don't believe in you, keep believing in yourself." She posted it online, not expecting much. But within days, it went viral among international students. Messages poured in, from India, Kenya, the Philippines, and beyond. "Your story gave me hope. I'm studying abroad too, I understand. Thank you for being real." For the first time, Chisom realized something powerful. Her pain wasn't wasted. It had purpose. The next semester began quietly. The cherry blossoms had fallen, leaving the trees bare, just like Chisom's heart. She hadn't seen June since the night she ended things. His seat in the architecture studio was often empty. Rumors said he'd taken a break from classes. Others said he'd moved to Seoul. Every time she passed the harbor, the memory of his laughter echoed in her chest. She tried to erase it, but love, once planted, doesn't die easily. Still, she pushed forward. Her viral video continued to spread. One night, she checked her email and froze. Subject: Invitation to speak, Global Youth Conference, Seoul. They'd seen her video, the raw honesty, the message of resilience. They wanted her to share her story about surviving as an international student and overcoming cultural barriers. She blinked at the screen, disbelief flooding through her. "Me," she whispered. "They want me." Her hands trembled as she called her mother. "Mama, they want me to speak in Seoul." "Ah, my daughter. You see, even from your tears, God is planting something." The days leading up to the conference were a blur. Chisom practiced her speech endlessly, adjusting her accent, timing her pauses. She borrowed a simple white dress from a friend, elegant yet modest. The morning of the event, she took the train to Seoul, watching the landscape blur past. Mountains, rivers, cities, each reflection in the window felt like a piece of her journey. When she stepped on stage, the hall fell silent. Hundreds of faces, students, professors, journalists, waited. She took a deep breath. "My name is Chisom Eze. I came from Succa, Nigeria, a place where dreams grow in dust and courage." Her voice trembled at first, but with every word, she grew stronger. She spoke about rejection, loneliness, and love. About how success doesn't mean having everything, it means surviving when you have nothing. "People told me I was crazy to dream this big. But maybe crazy is exactly what the world needs." By the time she finished, the room erupted into applause. Some people stood. Others wiped tears. Cameras flashed. And at that moment, Chisom realized she wasn't just living a dream. She had become one. After the event, a representative from a major Korean NGO approached her. "We're launching a scholarship fund for African students. We'd love for you to be our ambassador." Her heart skipped. "Me? Yes, you. You're the reason someone else will believe they can come here too." That night, she walked through the streets of Seoul, the city lights glowing like tiny stars. And for the first time since June left, she smiled, not from joy, but from peace. Weeks later, she returned to Busan to finish her final semester. The campus felt different, not because it had changed, but because she had. People greeted her more now, some even called her the Nigerian star. But one day, while walking through the library, she froze. There he was, June. He looked tired, a bit thinner, but his smile, that same warm, steady smile, was unchanged. "Hey," he said softly. "June." They stood in silence for a moment, emotions swirling like waves between them. "You left," she said finally. "Yeah," he replied. "I needed space. My dad didn't approve. He said I was throwing my future away. And now I realize, maybe it's not about what we lose for love, but what we learn from it." Her eyes softened. "You taught me how to see myself differently, even when it hurt." He smiled sadly. "You taught me the same." They walked to the harbor, their old bench still there, unchanged. The sea breeze was cool, the sunset spilling gold across the water. "You're different now," June said. "Stronger." I had to be, she replied. Dreams demand strength. He reached into his bag and handed her a folded sketch, another drawing of her, standing on stage, holding a microphone, her eyes bright with purpose. I saw the video, he said. You were amazing. You watched it. Of course. You were always meant to be seen. She laughed softly, blinking back tears. Thank you, June. For everything. They didn't hug. They didn't kiss. They didn't promise anything. Some stories don't end with romance. They end with respect, with healing, with gratitude. Months passed. Chisom graduated top of her class. She accepted a position with the same NGO that had invited her to Seoul, helping other African students find scholarships, guiding them through the maze she once walked alone. Her final vlog from Korea went viral again. In it, she sat on the harbor bench wearing her mother's yellow Ankara dress. When I first came here, she said, I thought my dream was to live in Korea. But now I know, my dream was to become the kind of woman who could live anywhere. Who could fall, break, rebuild, and rise again. She smiled at the camera, eyes glistening. If you're watching this, and you feel like giving up, don't. The world may not understand your dream yet. But one day it will. She paused, took a deep breath, and looked straight into the lens. And when it does, promise me you'll still be humble, grateful, and kind. The screen faded to black with soft music playing in the background. A year later, she returned to Nigeria. This time, not as the girl who left, but as the woman who conquered. Her mother met her at the airport with tears in her eyes and arms wide open. You did it, my daughter. We did it, Mama. The yellow dress fluttered in the breeze as they walked out into the sunlight. Backhand index pointing right. If you've been moved by Chisom's story, hit that like button and type, I'll keep dreaming, in the comments. Because dreams don't belong to the lucky, they belong to the brave. And if you're chasing yours right now, subscribe to Golden Tales TV for more stories like this.